Good evening, everyone. This is James.
I'm Leanna.
You're listening to Perseverance to Prevail podcast, and today we're going to be doing episode 3 of Divorces. Dark Days Divorces, excuse me.
To be continued, ...
Yeah, the continuation of this long, drawn-out situations that we've been through. So, we did my story, we did your story, and then this is kind of going through a couple parts that we may have not touched on, or a couple things that we may have missed that want to bring up some extra stuff.
Yeah, so I did a lot of processing after we recorded my episode, and one of the things that you asked me, I think when we were recording actually, you said, I was like, I'm not sure what to share, and you said, well, let me ask you this. Will it help somebody? And I just remember when I was in that relationship and just feeling like so alone and so like, I've just got to suck this up because I guess this is just what marriage is, and this is what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to just put up with it. And I think that sharing my story, like my heart behind it, is to help women who, like, I know if I went through that, there has got to be someone else going through it too. And just maybe sharing my experiences will open their eyes to what they're going through, and just to encourage them, like, if this is the behavior that's happening in your marriage, it's not okay. You don't have to put up with it. And there is better. There is better for you. So,
this applies to guys too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the situations can be the exact same, but just different gender.
Right.
Honestly.
Flipped genders. Yeah, for sure.
Man or woman, sorry.
Right.
Sorry, not sorry. It's two genders, man or woman.
I'm glad that you said that, because it definitely can. It can be the woman that's the toxic one and doing all this to the man, for sure.
Exactly.
So I just kind of like mind dumped some things that I didn't speak on, that honestly I haven't told a lot of people. Like, I don't even know if you know all of what I'm going to share. So buckle in.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't share a lot of this for, I felt like I wanted to protect his family, because if they just happened to hear it, I don't want them to hurt knowing like what happened, and honestly protecting myself, because some of it was very traumatic, and I didn't realize I was protecting him, but because like in my mind I was like, well, just because he like did these things to me doesn't mean like, I want his friends to look at him any different. But honestly, most of them are probably not. I don't know if any of them will listen to this. I don't know why they would. And I also don't know why I care. So at this point, like, I don't share names. So it's still pretty anonymous. But I do want to share about what I went through so that it could potentially help somebody else. One of the things that was a huge moment for me was just the fact that I like started to literally detest his touch. My main love language is physical touch, so the fact that when my partner would touch me I would cringe was a huge red flag to me. But I think the reason why I started to really resent it and detest it was it just felt like there was an underlying expectation that it was going to lead to something if he had touched me. So it was never for intimacy in any other way other than sex. When we would like do massages, I would try to like give him like a really good massage, whatever. And then when it was for me, it was very half-assed and like clearly not focused on anything other than that he wanted some. So while I feel like there's nothing wrong with that, like that can be like a playful like moment in the bedroom. At the same time, it's really nice to know that your partner values your health, like including like your entire body, and wanting to do something for you that will make you feel good that doesn't involve sex. Like, I don't know if you remember, but there was a moment back at our old house where you were massaging my back and I literally broke out in tears. And I couldn't articulate at the time what was happening in my mind, in my heart, but what was happening was like, you were massaging the muscles in my back because I was sore, and you were trying to give my body relief and make me feel good, not to get anything in return. Does that make sense? Like,
oh yeah, I remember it. I thought I fucked up.
you did, and I was like, no, it's good tears.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure, I had to process that. That was a very deep emotional moment for me of like, man, like this man loves me and cares about me and cares about my health and cares about my well-being, and he's not putting himself first all the time like what I'm used to. Like, it was a huge moment for me. Like, I love you. But like, okay, so anytime there was touch, there was an expectation attached to it. Now, like, I want to reiterate, like, of course, like, playful butt grabs and things like that, like, throughout the day are fun, and I love that. But when it feels like that's all you are to that person, it creates some, like, disgust, or it created some disgust for me of, like, there's no respect or, like, care for me as a person. It's like I'm just
An object.
An object, yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants to just feel like they're just there for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no other use for you except for that.
Right. And we talk a lot about intimacy and how important it is in a relationship, both sexually and non-sexual intimacy. Those are important things. Those should be priority in your relationship, but it's not the only thing.
No.
And you should care about the heart and the mind and the body of your person, and making sure that they are a fully healthy and well-rounded person.
Yeah, you should care about their general well-being.
Yeah.
As a person, like, it's easy to tell somebody you love them, but it's one thing to show them that you love them.
Yeah, your actions speak louder than your words.
Yes.
Yes. Speaking of, going to my next kind of like point was that time with me never felt like a priority. Like, literally anything else was a priority over spending time with me. It was more of a priority for him to play video games and to do tech stuff. And he had a business he was trying to start on YouTube. And I was really patient and understanding about that. But it got to the point where it felt like he would rather do anything than spend time with me. Like, there's nothing wrong with playing video games or putting time into a side hustle that you're trying to work on, but your partner is just as important. And you need to make sure that you're investing time into the relationship. Like, one of the last times that it was like a Hail Mary, like, I wanted to spend time with him, and I was wanting to see if he was willing to spend time with me. I had an event that I was going to, and I needed to get a dress for it. So I asked him to go with me. And, like, part of me was like, I wanted to spend time with him. I wanted to, like, try on outfits and, like, just have that, like, little flirty moment or whatever. But he literally wouldn't even go with me. Like, our time together was so limited because we both had multiple jobs. Our schedules were all over the place. And all I wanted to do was just have him with me while I try on dresses and tell me which one he liked. And he couldn't even do that. He went home and played video games. It was just like I was constantly begging for time. And he had the time to give, but he was unwilling to give it.
Well, you got to let them know how important you are. You have somebody important in your life. You have to show them how much you mean to them. You've got to make time and show them how loved they are. Because if you don't, I hate to say it, but they'll find somebody else that will give them their time and show them love and affection. And there's somebody that would appreciate them and will appreciate them. Right. So it's in your own hands to fuck up sometimes.
Right. And that's one of the things that I love about our relationship is, like, we both work. I work an hour and a half away. And if I'm working more than one day out of the, like if I'm working 2 days in a row, that was hard to get out. I stay with my mom because it's closer and I don't have to drive as far.
Right.
I get off work really late and have to be at work early in the morning, so it just makes sense. And then with your job, sometimes you only work a couple days a week, and then the other week you work almost all the days of the week.
Yeah.
So our time together is very limited, but we both love and value each other and make each other a priority. So the time that we do get is intentional, and we try to we both put effort into making sure the other person feels loved and like they're a priority in our lives.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
how it should be.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Just don't play video games for a fucking hour or two.
Right.
Spend some time with them.
Or yeah, and like do it when they're not there. Like there was plenty of moments when we were like I was not home that he could have done that, so that he had time for me when I was home.
Yeah, and I did. You've got to make the best of your time. You control it, and if you do not want to be with somebody, you just need to tell them that you don't want to be with them.
Yep.
I mean, like if you don't want to make time for that person, don't waste that person's time.
Yep.
I mean, and that's just how it is in a marriage too.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but
Yeah. So, another thing that was honestly like one of the biggest things that was a struggle point in our relationship was finances, actually, which I think there's some statistic. I wish I should have looked it up before we started this episode, but that is like a leading cause of arguments in marriages is finances.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty much why I'm not going to say it was the main reason, but it was a reason my engagement ended.
Mm-hmm. And that's sad because I think before you, like if you're planning to marry your partner, like finances should be a big conversation that you have before you actually say I do. And make sure that you guys are on the same page. And like the thing with like financial conversations is it can feel tense, or uncomfortable to bring it up and talk about it, but it's going to be a big part of your life. Like you're sharing your life with this person. There's like nothing wrong with just sitting down and like figuring out what expectations are, what how we're going to divide things up. Like just have those conversations. It doesn't have to be as tense as your mind is probably telling you it's going to be. But it's important.
I see a lot of TikToks about financial aspects, and I see a lot of guys, this is just from the male perspective, that the females these days expect the man to do everything, which
by do everything, do you mean pay for everything?
Pay for everything, take care of everything, like do everything, and then them, do nothing, like don't cook, clean, help out in any kind of way, but you know what I mean?
What?
Yeah, it's crazy, and like it might just be TikTok showing the negative aspects of these girls because it shows the females talking to that the man should take care of them and they shouldn't have to do anything except for look good.
That's ridiculous.
That is very ridiculous, and it's unreasonable and
it's unrealistic too.
Unrealistic. That's exactly what I was about to say. These days, I mean, not everybody is in a good situation like myself. Like I'm my career is pretty good. I make more than your average person makes.
Especially at your age.
Yeah, especially at my age. It's not a flex. I'm just saying that I made pretty good career choices.
Right.
Law enforcement isn't quite the best paying, but I mean it beats working at McDonald's or a factory.
Right.
And
there's no shame in that either. I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you've got to start somewhere. But I'm just saying, for me, that I make better money than the average person.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still hard this day and age. Like, the cost of living is fucking crazy.
Right.
And even, I have struggles because of, like, unexpected bills, shit happening to your car. Like, I've had very bad car trouble the past, 3 months, between hitting a deer, tires going out, brakes needing to be fixed.
And those things often happen, like, unexpectedly and somehow all at the same time.
Yes. Which still need to do some other repairs to my car, but that's for later and a different conversation to be had off air. But the point I'm getting to is that this day and age, you need somebody to share life and have your back, because as a man, I understand that you want to take care of your woman, which you should. And as a man, you don't want to ask for help, but sometimes it's necessary. And if you truly have a partner that wants to share life with you, they should be more than willing to help you out, and like through rain and shine.
Right, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with splitting bills. There's nothing wrong with like cutting cost. Now, if you make more money than the other person, I mean, obviously, just pay more.
Yeah, kind of.
What you make and what they make is different. So therefore, what you would pay and what they would pay would be different.
Right.
And you've got to split that up.
Right. And that doesn't matter which gender it is. It's if you're the one that's making more, then just you can't expect your partner to be able to do the exact same thing you're doing when they make less money than you.
Right.
Like, especially when it's a significant difference in what you're being paid.
Right.
But I also so I do want to say, I don't think there's anything wrong with women who want women and families, or even men that choose to have a stay-at-home parent. Let's just say families that choose to have a stay-at-home parent. If the other partner is financially capable of doing that, and you guys have a comfortable life that way. However, to me, there's much higher expectations of what that's going to look like. Like, you're not just going to be staying at home and like chilling on the couch and doing whatever the fuck you want. If you're the stay-at-home parent, like, obviously you're taking care of children. The house should be spotless. You should be cooking the food. Like, there's all these things that you should be taking care of. So it really bothers me when women, luckily I don't know these women. These are like people that I hear about on the internet. I've never met one in person who was like genuinely wanting to find someone to just completely take care of them. They do absolutely nothing. Oh, you know what? I just had a conversation with my mom literally today. We do have someone in our lives like that, and it pisses us off because they're dating my brother. So they literally they work, but they don't contribute financially. They don't contribute to the house. They don't do any cleaning, nothing. So I didn't even realize that until just now, that I do know someone like that, actually. And it burns me up. And of course I'm protective of my brother, but a woman that would do that to any man, I do not understand, because when you're in a partnership, it's a partnership. Where is your role in that? You can't just, I just don't understand people with that mindset. Like hypothetically, say, we had kids and we chose that me being a stay-at-home parent would be the best option. Childcare is too expensive or whatever. I would make sure that you had food ready as soon as you got home. I would make sure that the house was spotless. I would take care of shit. I would get things done so that you don't have anything to stress about when you get home. Now, there's some when you hear people talk about that, there's pink jobs, blue jobs. So there would be some things that I think as a man, maybe our cars and the lawn. But other than that, things that are going on inside the house should be taken care of by me. If that was, that was the life that we chose. That's not a life that we live right now. We don't have kids. We don't have to worry about that. But I'm just saying, there's a different level of expectation and effort that comes if you're a stay-at-home spouse.
Well, see, in that aspect, you contribute.
Contribution, thank you. I could not figure out that word.
Yeah. to this situation. You are giving this person a peace of mind. Like, just for instance, I wouldn't have to worry about things at the house. Everything would be taken care of. That's one, I shouldn't have to worry about taking care of the house if I'm taking care of everything else.
Right.
Vice versa, because there's some guys that are stay-at-home dads out there.
Yeah, there is.
And if you're the stay-at-home dad, same goes for you. If anything, you should be doing a little bit more because you are the guy. Like, on top of cooking, cleaning, stuff like that, you should, if something's broke at the house, fix it. The grass, the trash, everything should be taken care of. She shouldn't have to come home to you playing video games and no dinner, no nothing. Like,
right.
You're not her kid.
Right.
And vice versa. She's not your kid.
Yep.
And anybody in that situation, they don't need you. That's the thing, because you don't contribute nothing to them. Like, for a guy, if you're a woman that doesn't cook, clean, do anything, he can hire a whore for sex. He can hire a maid to clean the house. He can hire somebody to cut his grass. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can have meals ordered. I mean, it's not like he needs somebody.
Right.
But if you can contribute to his life and make his life easier and show him love and admiration, or vice versa, I know I'm saying he, but that goes either way, then that's where love is found. Like, or love is shown. And if you do those things, guarantee you, if he's never had somebody to do that, this man will walk through hell with gasoline draws on for you. Guaranteed. He won't let you go. You want a ring? That's how you get a ring. Like, that's how you stand out from modern women. You want a traditional relationship? You got to be a traditional woman.
Yep. 100%.
So, there's my little rant.
No, I love it. Yeah, so...
She's eating a cookie, if you can't tell.
I am. Chewing. They're so good, I can't help it.
I forgot I left them down here.
I thought you ate them all.
I thought I did, too. I actually went back and I was like, oh, fuck. And then we started doing my other podcast. Horrible podcast.
Shameless plug.
Plug.
If you are a horror movie fan, definitely check out the Horrible podcast.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's me and my brother Todd.
Horrorble. HORROR.
BLE. Blah. Because that's what it is. But anyway, enough about the other podcast. But I found them down here and I was like, ooh, cookie. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's like from the Family Guy episode. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Piece of candy. But
yeah.
What else would you
so
like
back on track a little bit.
Divorces.
Divorces and the reasons why. Anyways, so financially, I feel like he completely controlled me. Everything was in his name. The house, my car, our phones, our bank account, like literally everything was in his name. There was not one thing in mine. We had joint bank accounts, and while he could spend like loads of money on tech gear or whatever like new gadget he wanted to play with, I was treated very poorly and made to feel guilty for something like asking to buy a plant. Like, I will never forget, we had just left Best Buy. He had just made a big, expensive purchase. We went to Kroger afterwards to pick up some groceries, and there was a plant there that I liked, and it was like $12, right? I was like, ooh, this is so cute. Can I get it? And he was like, well, do you really need it? And that was the one time I actually think I stood up for myself and was like, did you just not make a giant purchase at Best Buy and I can't buy a $12 plant? And he was like, you're right. But that was the only time I'd ever stood up for myself. If I didn't stand up for myself, I just felt guilty and just didn't do it. And I think I even didn't buy it I didn't get it that day because I still like even though I like for once in my life stood up for myself, I still felt guilty because that was the cycle of like Leanna can't buy anything for herself, but he could buy literally whatever he wanted for himself. And I wasn't allowed to question it, and I was just, had to go along with it.
Now, you were working, right?
Yeah, I was working.
All right, so y'all had a shared bank account?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your scenario is the exact same as mine. But on the other end, I didn't have, I had one pair of shoes, believe it or not. There was a time where I only had one pair of shoes. Not that I'm a sneakerhead or anything like that, but I've got a variety of shoes. We'll just keep it like that. And me and my ex-wife, not fiance, was out, and I was going to get a new pair of shoes, and she just bought a $150, $200 purse or some shit like that. Mm. And I don't know, 4 days before or something like that, a week before, anyway. And then I just wanted a $20 pair of shoes from, I think it was Ross or Marshalls or some shit like that. And she's like, do you really need them? And I had to show her the fucking hole in my shoe that she already knew about. And she made it out she gaslit me, and of course making it out like this is money we don't need to spend, blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, she's buying these purses, getting her hair done, nails every 2 weeks or however long it lasts. Was it 2 weeks?
Some women go 2. I'm a penny pincher, so I stretch it out to 4.
Okay. Anyway, and there was a time where I didn't spend money on myself ever, and she controlled everything, and I said never again after that.
Yeah, that's crazy. It literally sounds the exact same, just gender opposites.
Yeah, which it happens to guys, but
we're prime examples. It happens both ways.
Yeah, a piece of advice to female and male that you should handle your own finances separately. There's nothing wrong with having a joint bank account together, but you should have yours, I should have mine, and then we can have a joint bank account together where I put in my half, you put in your half.
Or whatever
the bills is, or however you want to set that up.
Right.
That way there's no problems with money. You have your own, she has her own, she can't tell you, you can't tell her.
Right.
Not that you should be telling them what to do anyway, but
it kind of just helps you avoid that conflict.
Just helps you avoid that conflict and all. You should have your own, I ain't going to say house, but your own place in case something goes wrong. This is just for me. Because of how my ex-fiance done me.
I think we disagree here. I understand. I know what happened to you. I understand why you feel that way. But to me, if you are that would be like me holding on to my apartment just in case something happened to us. And I don't think that's...
I'm saying you should have your own place. I understand having a place to rent. Let me rephrase that. I believe that you should have your own place. Just I ain't gonna say it as a backup plan, but I'm saying that how to put this? You never know what's gonna happen.
Right.
The way that I mean this, because you're looking at me weird, is, okay, say that it was just me living here, right? Me and you.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're not married, right?
Right.
And then say I pass away. Or something happens, God forbid. And you can't afford the house payments here. If you had your own place, you have somewhere to go. That's how I mean that. Just in case something in life happens, you have something to fall back on.
I mean, I understand that, like, when you explain it that way, but
That's how I mean. I don't mean like an escape plan. Like, it probably sounded like I was talking like an escape plan just in case shit goes wrong.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's fine, but if you have that mentality and you're going into a relationship, something's kind of like,
right.
you need to fix something.
To me, you already have one foot out the door.
Right.
Like,
no,
you
I
can't
mean
have a solid
like,
relationship if you've got one foot out the door at all times.
You're right. You're 100% right. But I mean as that way you're taken care of. Like, I kind of wish you, like, I worry that if something did happen to me, like, what would happen to this place? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think that's when you sit down and figure out, okay, well, what do we need to do to make sure that either way the other person is okay?
Right.
Whether that's a life insurance policy or some, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's ways to go about that, making sure the other person's going to be all right.
Well, that's how I mean it. That you're going to be all right and they're going to be all right. Like, that kind of stuff is kind of like with my dad and how he has his thing set up. Like, when he passes away, it goes to me, and
yeah.
But it's been like that just in case something happens and I didn't have my own place at the time. Stuff like that. That's how I mean it. I don't believe that you should have like your one foot out the door situation.
Gotcha.
And I was about to go into that you have your own car. That way you don't depend on that other person taking you everywhere.
Yeah.
That way you can contribute in other ways. Like, if I need to come get you, or vice versa, you break down, I can come help you.
Or you're at work, I can go get the groceries.
Right.
Or I can take our dogs to the vet, or what have you. Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Just kind of like basically like having your own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can come together.
Yeah.
Because say you did have your own house and we moved in together, you could still use that house, rent that house out, and then that can help contribute to your relationship there. And that way, say you want to be a stay-at-home mom, that money right there can still be put into the house that you live into.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of the situations and things I'm talking about. I don't mean it in a negative way, as in, just in case this bitch goes crazy, kick her out, or vice versa, or I'm out, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I don't mean it like that. I mean like as in like contributing ways. Mm-hmm. That way it helps. That way you can help build a life together.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, thank you for explaining that, because I was looking at you kind of funny, because my, like, gut reaction was the one foot out the door kind of situation we just mentioned. That I just think you just showed, like, a really good example of communication, because I wasn't hearing what you were saying the way that you were trying to say it. And you saw that, and instead of getting upset about it, you took the time to explain what you meant clearly.
Sorry, I mean the apple. Yeah. And I think that's the problem, is miscommunication. Mm-hmm. And if somebody's willing to communicate to you, you got to be willing to listen.
Yeah.
Don't just jump to conclusions, and don't just get mad for no reason. When you get mad, make sure there's a reason behind it. Yeah. Like, if I'm in it the other way, like, of course,
I wasn't mad. I was, like, confused, I think.
Concerned.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I agree, because I think a lot of times people interpret what someone says in a way that is not how the person speaking meant it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's, understandable. Like, sometimes the way that they worded it sounds like what you're thinking. But in a relationship, like, if your partner says something that you feel like is out of character, like the way that you heard it sounds out of character for them, or sounds like out of left field, like not something you'd expect them to say, just, like, maybe be mindful of the fact, like, maybe I'm misunderstanding, and maybe ask them to elaborate or explain.
Yeah.
Before jumping to a conclusion. But
exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
But okay, so back on the finances. One of the things that my partner had done was he had a couple of credit cards that he maxed out completely. And I had asked him, multiple times to please get this under control and get this figured out. And once you pay it off, I was like, can we please just cut up the cards? That way we don't even have to worry about it becoming an issue again. And he said no, because he wanted it in case of, an emergency, which I understood that. That's why I didn't argue him. But I was naive because really he just wanted it to make more purchases and put us in more debt. And one of the things I try to explain to him when we would have conversations about finances is when you chose to marry me, what you do doesn't just affect you anymore. It now also affects me. And if you're a partner that's making bad choices, racking up a ton of debt or spending all of the money on gambling or whatever, there's so many different ways you could bad choices that can be made. If you're doing that and you're married, you have to realize you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting your partner too.
100%.
Yeah. But, so during that time, our credit cards were, out of control. The payments were ridiculous. And I say ours, they were his. Everything was in his name. But, I remember for my birthday one year, he wanted to redo our bedroom because, that was one of the projects that I wanted to tackle in our home. And the only reason he told me what he wanted to do for my birthday was because he wanted to make sure he knew what kind of style I was looking for and whatever. And it was definitely something super sweet and something I wanted done, but I had a feeling that we didn't have the money for all the things that he wanted to do to the room and that he was going to end up putting it on a credit card. So I told him, I said, that's super sweet that you want to do that, and I appreciate it so much. But I really, really appreciate it, him wanting to do that for me. But please don't do anything that's going to have to go on the credit card. If we can't afford to pay for it ourselves, I don't want it. I don't expect him to do every little thing that we want done to the room if we don't have it. I don't want him to hurt himself and his credit in that way, or it was just really important to me, and I vocalized that, and he agreed. And come to find out, the entire room went on a credit card. Everything that was bought for the room went on a credit card. And I struggled for a while with that because I felt I was being selfish because he had done something sweet and nice for me that I had wanted done, but he knew how important getting our finances under control was to me, and he didn't respect the boundary that I set and that he agreed to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
it was coming from a good place, but you set the boundaries, or y'all both talked about it. And I'm guessing y'all were on the same page, right?
Right.
And he knew that you wanted to get the room done, but he also knew that the boundary was not to spend any money and not to rack up any more debt, so you could get ahead. So I think that he shouldn't have done the room, or he could have done what he could with whatever finances he had just to get started. And if you got upset with him because he didn't do what you wanted, then that, to me, would have been a you problem.
Right.
If he would have respected your wishes and you got mad at him because he didn't do it, even though you knew that y'all were in a financial situation, that he did what you wished in the end, and you shouldn't be mad at him.
Right. Exactly.
So.
And I wouldn't have been. I would have been elated that I finally felt heard and understood, and my opinion mattered at all.
Right.
because I was never trying to like control him. I was trying to like help our relationship take the stress of the finances off. Like literally, both of us are making decent money. There's no reason that we should have been struggling as bad as we were, except for the fact that he had racked up so much debt that our payments were astronomical and it put us in a bind all the time.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get us to a better place, to
Right.
take that stress off of him, off of me, off the relationship. But it just wasn't received. He just was going to do what he wanted to do. Just like when it came to his tech stuff. There were several times where, like, okay, I know, like, legitimately there were times where things had broke and he needed to replace it, like in his computer or whatever. But there were so many times that he would tell me that something, like some kind of equipment had broke and he needed to get a new one, when really he just wanted to get a new one. And instead of asking me, like, hey, I would really like to upgrade this part, is that cool? It was, I feel like I was manipulated because he thought that I was stupid and would fall for the fact that it broke. This part just released a new upgrade, but somehow mine just magically broke. And once I started like recognizing that pattern, I should have said something, and I never did. And that's part of something I've realized. You know, for me, like I've got to work on. Or at the time, like I needed to work on my communication of like vocalizing my opinion, but I just felt like at that point in my relationship, I just felt so much like it doesn't matter. He thinks I'm stupid anyway. Like, what does my opinion matter if he doesn't respect me enough to like literally just say like, hey, I want to, like literally if he would have just like been honest about it, I would have been like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, so it's not like $2 million, like whatever. Like if you need that for your business, like do that.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I would be manipulated into saying yes, and that's what bothered me. Not even so much the money aspect of that; it was the manipulation and like the gaslighting and thinking that I'm stupid when I'm not.
Right.
I just like I wish like looking back that I knew like every time things like this would happen, like my intuition was telling me like for instance, in that specific example, like I would know that's not broke. He just wants a new one. And
Yeah.
I wish I would have followed my intuition and spoke my truth of like, you know, I know that you're just trying to get a new part or whatever, but I would really appreciate if you would just be honest with me instead of manipulating me into saying yes to something because you think that's how you're going to get your way.
You think it would have changed anything?
No, I think at that point, like, he had been doing it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so, unfortunately. I think if, like, I had been that sure of myself, that, you know, the whole relationship and never let it happen to begin with,
Yeah.
yes, I think that we wouldn't have been in that predicament at that point. But,
Gotcha.
I mean, we were together a total of almost 13 years. Like, you let things happen for so long, that becomes their expectation. Or they're like, well, I can treat her this way because she's put up with it for this long.
True, unfortunately.
That reminds me of something I just heard recently. It said that you teach people how to treat you. So, for example, what you tolerate, and like say someone's disrespecting you and you tolerate it, and you tolerate it and tolerate it, and then one day you finally have enough and you say something, they're going to be totally caught off guard because you have allowed it.
Right.
So you've taught them that it's okay to treat you that way. And that was a huge thing for me, like in that relationship. Like, I feel like that, that's what I did. That was part of my responsibility, and that was like I had allowed things for so long that once I finally stepped into the truth of like, I don't have to put up with this. Like, I deserve better than this. Like, this is not okay. That's when I met the pushback because they were so used to treating me however they wanted to.
Yeah.
And now I'm not putting up with it anymore.
Yeah, pretty much the same happened with me in my marriage. Yeah. Just let her do what she wanted to for so long, and then when I started pushing back and telling her, no, I'm going to do my own thing, that's when shit hit the fan quick.
Yeah.
So, is there any more bullet points you had?
Well, we talked about red flags a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to touch on a red flag that happened during our engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, so like while we were engaged, like leading up to the wedding, we had a lot of, well, I had a lot of DIY stuff that I wanted to do for the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I procrastinated like crazy. Like I am a procrastinator at heart. Like that's kind of my thing. I procrastinate and then I work really well under pressure. But this was different. Like I feel like that is such an exciting thing that had I genuinely wanted to go through with it, I should have been more than excited to like get those things done. You know what I mean? So I think like in hindsight, I didn't realize it at the time, obviously, but like looking back, I think at a subconscious level, something inside of me just knew that I shouldn't marry him. So I was delaying everything and trying to push it back. Like I don't think I realized that was my reasoning at the time, but I realize that now, and I just wish that somebody would have seen what I was doing and would have asked me like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, where's your heart at right now? Like, are you sure that you want to do this?"
Yeah.
And like, or someone would have been like, "It's okay if you don't." I just so wish that someone like that knew me well would have recognized what was going on and sat me down and had a conversation with me. And like I said at the time, I don't think I realized it, but if someone would have sat me down, I think maybe I would have been able to realize it. Does that make sense?
True.
Not that it's anyone's fault for not doing that. I'm not saying that.
No,
I just wish like hindsight's 20/20. Like I just wish someone would have noticed and helped kind of wake me up a little bit.
Yeah, but do you think that going through what you did through made you the best person that you are now?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely don't like. That was something I had to process of just like the amount of time that I had spent with this person where I could have been with you, but I think. Ow! Don't laugh.
She got hungry and tried to bite the mic.
I did not try to bite the mic. The mic bit me. That was my tooth hitting the microphone. I'm wondering if I even. Yeah, that's so funny that this is getting brought up right now because that was one of the things I brain dumped was that, like I say all the time, I wish I could have met you sooner so I could love you longer. Mm-hmm. But if I really sit and like think about it, I'm actually really grateful for our timing because I feel like I know that I was not the best version of myself even like 5 years ago. And not that I'm like, I feel, I'm constantly growing, I'm constantly changing and constantly working on being the best version of myself. But there was a lot of things that I needed to work through before I could be a healthy partner for you. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think that the things that I went through helped open my eyes to a lot, helped me heal a lot of my own past trauma. It helped me realize like what I will and will not tolerate in a relationship. It made me realize what I need to do better in a relationship. Like it taught me a lot. And I think that timing happens the way it does for a reason sometimes. And even though like, you and I both went through a lot of pain, I think we're better because of it.
I know I am.
Right. Which in turn makes us better for each other.
No, I 100% do not regret any of my past relationships. I'm not going to speak ill of any of them, but I'm grateful for the negative situations that I've been put in, because it's made me one of the best versions of myself right now. I don't think if I hadn't gone through what I went through, I wouldn't be able to be in a functioning, healthy relationship now.
Right.
Especially my last one. I don't want to say made me grow up, but made me reevaluate myself to the point where I realized that the majority of my life the relationships I've been in, I've been looking for someone to love me, and I never really loved myself. And if it wasn't really for that last past traumatic experience, I wouldn't have gotten to know and love myself. And that's really the problem in a lot of relationships, is people don't love themselves. And if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else.
That's a really good point, babe.
So I'm very grateful for the heartache I had to go through, because it makes me appreciate where I'm at and what I've got. And I don't sit there and I've got body dysmorphia, but that's a different, that really doesn't have anything to do with my life, like how I carry myself, or how mentally loving yourself or loving people and handling situations. I'm a big proponent of, if you feel good, you look good. If you look good, you feel good. Which, we're both in the process of working that out. But anyway, loving yourself is a key proponent in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly seeking validation of love from someone else, that nobody can love you like yourself.
Yeah, and in the case, if you put all of your value in the way that somebody else loves you, then, God forbid something happened in that relationship,
mm-hmm.
Whether it's a breakup or someone passes or whatever, if you find all of your worth and your value in that person, then when that ends, you will have nothing left. So it is really important to find love and validation within yourself.
Yep.
Now, that doesn't mean your partner can't also love and validate you, but it first has to stem from you.
Right.
Yeah. And I think for me too, I find more value and more appreciation for the love and validation that you provide me, because I first love myself.
Right.
It helps me appreciate you more.
Yeah. Exactly. 100%.
So I just remembered one more thing I want to talk about, and then I just wanted to talk one more situation.
Okay.
And there's a couple things that I want to talk about, not necessarily about the relationship, but about things that you're going to go through afterwards. So, I talked about my ex and that friend that the guy friend who he constantly lied and lied to me, gaslit me, manipulated me with. But one of the things, I'm going to get a little bit deeper with it, just because I feel like I'm ready to, for the first time ever. So one of the things with his guy friend that I didn't mention was how he would quite frequently, my ex would tell me quite frequently, intimate details about his friend's love life. I know girls talk about things like that more openly, but I find it really hard to believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you're a man. So I just find it hard to believe that,
Let me put this apple down for a second.
That, like, I find it hard to believe that a man would share as intimately about their like sexual relationships with another man as openly as like a woman would. Things like for example,
Okay.
He would tell me about secret spots that him and his friend would like go to hook up, like this specific parking lot at this specific time, and this specific park at this specific time. They would like all these little secret spots that they would go and hook up in the back of their car. And the fact that, okay, this one was like, the fact that his partner was too small for him because of the dildo that he was using. So he started making his partner wear like some sort of dick extender because he wasn't big enough to get him off, or make him use like a giant dildo because his partner wasn't big enough to get him off. And like things like that are just like very personal and intimate that I don't even think a woman would share something like that.
Okay. First of all, let me hit this. I think that's very appropriate. All right, so his friend was gay.
Yes.
All right, let's get that out there.
I did kind of beat around that bush, but yeah.
Well, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to call it like I sees it. All right.
Calls it like I sees it.
This is coming from my perspective. I, speaking for myself, do not go into intimate details with women. About women with my buddies. Any conversation that I've had with my buddies has not been very intimate. Men are very basic. Mm-hmm. The conversations we have, for the most part, are pretty basic, unless it's something we're passionate about.
Right.
Hence, the conversation that me and Brandon was having on the ride back last night. He was very passionate and goes into semi-details about it, but for the most part, it was still a basic conversation.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Sex conversations, if guys have, believe it or not, women, when guys get together, that's probably the last thing that we talk about, at least for me and my friends. We talk about everything but that. Now, in getting to this, any sexual conversations we've had is very simple and to the point, like, wow, she can suck a golf ball through a garden hose, or I have never been ridden like I was on a 5-second ride from a bull. But it's very like that, very straight to the point, but it's not very detailed. Okay.
Oh, God. That makes me laugh.
And on top of everything, I feel uncomfortable. Say Brandon is telling me details, which we've never had conversations like that.
Right.
Me and my friends are very basic. It's either about professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, sports, movies, music, and video games. It's pretty much the general concepts of conversations we have, and I'm pretty sure it's the same, unless somebody's going through a breakup or, a bad relationship situation.
Talk about fitness a lot with Casey.
Yeah, fitness with Casey. Going back around, things we're passionate about.
Right.
But I would feel wrong if Brandon went into detail about what his wife did to him. Like, I feel like that'd be an invasion of their privacy that you don't share.
Right.
Not to mention, I know Angela, and it would feel wrong to me.
To know that about her.
Yeah, to know that about them doing something like that. I'm just using them for an example. Like, that's their privacy, that's their intimacy, and it should be shared with nobody but them two.
Right.
I mean, period. When Casey was single and fucking around, just dating, that's what I mean with fucking around. He barely even talked about the girl he was talking to.
Yeah.
And if he said, "Yeah, man, got me some," end of conversation.
You sounded just like him. God, that cracks me up.
Love you, Casey, even though you probably don't listen to this. But that's the end of that.
Okay.
And as far I can rightfully say that I've never had a conversation about my sex life with, I don't think, any of my friends, with anybody that I've ever dated that they've met.
So I'm not wrong in my assumption that men don't typically share those intimate of details with each other.
No.
Okay. Thank you for confirming my suspicion.
Sorry that was a long explanation.
No, I appreciate that because, like, I am making an assumption about men, but you are a man. You can give me the perspective from a man's point of view. So I appreciate that.
Now, and in saying that, I feel like if you tell somebody what turns you on, or like if it was flipped, okay? Let's say that was a woman, okay? I feel like it would lead to sexual tension.
Right.
Because she's telling you what she likes and what she doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Because they possibly would have a crush on you, or maybe it's more than that. That's the only reason why I think that you would tell what turns you on, what turns you off. And the reason why I say that is because I've had conversations like that in my past with women, and it always wanted to lead towards more.
Right. And this is coming from someone who is this is a man attracted to men,
right?
Telling this to a man. So it's kind
exactly.
of the same thing.
So to me, it wouldn't be any different.
Thank you. I feel really validated right now.
So now there might be some gay guy out there that wants to prove me wrong. I am open for a debate and discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is definitely how I felt. Like,
well, I got a question real quick.
Yeah.
Do you have any gay friends?
Yes.
Have they ever said anything to you like that?
No.
None.
One of my gay friends is pretty open about, like, yeah, I got me some last night. But it literally is not talking about the size of that guy's dick or the fact that he couldn't get him off because he was too small or he was too big for him. Like, it was never intimate details like that.
Okay. You have women that are gay, right? That you know.
Yes.
Did they ever talk to you about that?
Nope. They never talk about their sex life at all to me.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So.
I'm going to take a bite of my apple now.
You can take a bite of your apple, baby. Yeah. There are just so many, like, red flags when it came to that specific relationship between him and his friend. And like I've said before, I am very much the person that, like, I overanalyze things and I try to see, like, I always try to convince myself that I'm crazy so that I'm not upset with the person because I hate conflict and I hate being upset with people and, like, just having that, like, conflict. Like, I don't know how else to word that. So I would always, whenever things would get brought up with him, try to be like, wow, Leanna, like, you're really overthinking this. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You need to just let it go. Like, there's all of this stuff. Like, I will never forget the very first time anything happened. Because, like, this person, like I said in the last podcast, was someone who was one of his best friends. They knew each other for a really long time. And so when I started dating this guy, I was very, like, wanting, you know, let's have him over. And, like, I literally would cook dinner for the three of us. And, like, we would have game nights and, like, had him over all the time. And, like, I had no issues with him until I started to realize, like, I didn't even have any issues with him at this point. I kind of had a feeling he had a crush on my boyfriend. And I was, you know, you can't help who you have a crush on, but they've been best friends for forever. So, like, you know, that's fine. But then the first kind of thing that rubbed me wrong was the fact that they would talk on the phone all the time. Like, he would call my partner and they would talk all the time, even when, like, we were trying to spend time together. So I had voiced, like, this makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I don't talk to my girlfriends this much. Like, girls talk a lot. Like, we have a lot to say, and we like to talk to each other. And, like, my very best friend at the time, we talked a lot. Like,
right.
I was like, I don't even talk to Sarah as much as you guys are talking. Like,
right.
He's calling you because he likes you, and he wants to talk to you because he likes you. But I still wasn't, like, upset, or, like, there wasn't conflict really about it. I was just noticing, sharing my opinion. But the first thing that happened that made me like, I was in hair school, an hour away from where we lived, and I stayed with my uncle while I was in school. Mm-hmm. And have I shared this with you before?
Not sure.
Okay, well, our podcast friends have not heard it, so I'm going to share it anyway, whether you've heard it or not, so you get to hear it again. But I was staying with my uncle, and I would come home on the weekends. So my classes were Tuesday through Saturday. Saturday was a half day. I would come home Saturday when we got out of school, and I would have Saturday evening and Sunday with him, and then he had work Monday through Friday, so I wouldn't see him Monday. I would drive back on Monday to be ready for school the next day. Well, there was some kind of, like, holiday or something going on where we got out of school on a Friday half day instead. Yeah. So the weekend before, I was, like, so excited because I got an extra night to spend time with him, and was like, you know, since I'm getting off early, maybe we can do, like, a special date night on Friday night. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's do that. So we had made plans to have a special date night Friday night the weekend before, right?
Right.
So I get out of school on Friday, and I call him. I'm like, hey. I was like, what you doing? He was like, oh, I'm just at the mall with so-and-so. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm on my way. It takes about an hour to get there. And he's like, well, I'm not leaving him. I'm like, well, no, like, I've got, like, an hour drive ahead of me, and then we had a date night planned. Like, I had, like, dressed up. I had done my hair and my makeup nice because I knew we were doing something special. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I'm not just leaving my friend, Leanna. I'm like, so are we not doing date night now? He's like, well, that's asking me to be a bad friend. I'm like, I'm not asking you to be a bad friend. Like, we just never get a Friday night together, and we had made plans to have a date night. Like, if we didn't have plans, I wouldn't care. But, like, we had made plans together. And he just kept, like, that harsh tone of, like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, it just, and at this point, before this point, nothing like that had ever happened before. So it totally caught me off guard. And then I got so angry, got off the phone with him, and I'm crying. I'm so mad. Because, like I said, if we not had plans, I would be like, okay, cool. Like, I'll just go hang out with my mom. Like, no big deal. But we had made plans. And instead of being like, oh, like, I know we have plans, but, like, I know we made plans, but, you know, I'm hanging out with my friend. Can we do it tomorrow night instead? Or something like that. Like, I would have been, like, bummed, but I wouldn't have been as upset. It just felt like a total write-off to, like, it just didn't sit well with me. Something felt fucking weird.
Right.
So I called my friend Sarah about it and was like, I didn't need to vent to somebody, and, like, told her what had just happened, and she's like, oh, hell no, something's up. And I'm like, I know.
Right. Yeah.
So I've told you before, I have really weird intuition about people and things and situations.
Yeah.
So I drove for an hour to Roanoke, went to the mall where he said he was.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I knew exactly which store I would find them in. And Valley View Mall is not, I mean, it's not a huge mall, but it's not a small mall either. I parked at the store directly beside it, walked inside, rounded the corner, went in that store, and there they were. Out of all the stores I could have went to first to look for them,
Yeah.
I just happened to walk into the right one. Because I knew. And it was Spencer's. Now, like, looking back, I wish so bad I would have just kind of been a fly on the wall and, like, watched to see how they interacted, not knowing that I was there. So wish I would have done that. But instead, I just walked up to them and I was like, hey, guys. And my partner and his friend were like, oh, hey. And you could tell, like, it was super awkward.
Yeah.
And we, like, walked around for a little bit. And I was acting like nothing was wrong. Like, it didn't bother me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And sure as shit, like 5 minutes later, all of a sudden his friend had to leave. Is that not, like, weird?
Little awkward.
Little awkward. So, like, that was the first thing that happened that really isn't a huge deal, but it was like the precursor to all the things that happened after.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I just wish. Well, I say that. I mean, we just talked about, like, part of me wishes, like, I wouldn't have been so naive and trusting and forgiving about that situation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know things happen for a reason. And I've grown so much from that and learned so much from that entire relationship and all of the shit that happened.
Right.
But, yeah, so, I don't know. I guess I just want, like, people to realize, like, that's, like, all of the stuff that we're talking about, like, it's not healthy. It's not how a relationship should be. If you were finding yourself in this situation where you are being treated like you're stupid, or your opinions and your desires for the relationship are disrespected and devalued, like, no, you don't have to put up with that. There is a better way. And I think, you know, if you have a partner that's willing to hear you out and willing to work on the things that are upsetting you, then do that and try. Put your best effort forward to mend it and fix it. But if they're unwilling, then there's nothing you can do. You cannot change somebody else. You cannot make them be the person you want them to be.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, if things aren't going the way that they should, you can openly talk to them. And if they have an open ear and they're willing to listen, give it a shot, give it a try. And then, you know, if you notice that things are slowly progressing, you've got to be patient because things don't just happen overnight.
Yeah. And, like, as far as, like, the finances go, like, do not allow someone to control you to the point where you have no way out. There are ways of sharing finances and bills, but, like, where both parties are involved. But there's also an unhealthy balance where one person has all of the control and the other person has none.
Yeah.
And do not allow someone to convince you that you are the problem if you're not. And if you are the problem, own that shit and work on it.
Yep.
There's not one person on this planet that's perfect. And you probably play a part in part of the problem.
The only way to fix the problem is acknowledging the problem.
Right. And acknowledging when you are the problem. And that's hard to do. I know that. But
sucks.
Right. But also understand, like, it takes two to tango, and don't put all the blame on yourself if it's not warranted. Like, that's one of the things that I did for so long. I put all of the blame on myself and believed that I was the problem and everything was my fault and I just couldn't do anything right, when in reality that just wasn't the case. I played my part, but so did he.
Exactly. It takes two to tango.
Yes.
If there's a problem, you need to address the problem, see where the root of the problem is, and start from there. If the problems stem from both, see what both of y'all can do to fix it.
Yeah.
If the problems are stemming from you, you need to fix it.
Yeah.
If the problem's stemming from them, they need to fix it.
They need to be willing to at
Yeah.
least try.
Yeah, both of y'all have to be willing to fix it. If there's no will, there's no way.
Right.
It's just simple as that.
And unfortunately, if they're not willing to make the changes, and they've proven to you over and over again that it's not going to happen, like they're not going to put that effort in, then
You got to move on.
you got to move on.
It's over. And there's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
It's just done.
And there are some things I think that you have to kind of come to terms with and accept when it gets to the point of deciding, this relationship is not going to work and ending it. You have to process and accept the things that you will lose during and after the divorce. Like things like the image in your head of what your future would look like, and the love that you had hoped would be forever is coming to an end. You will lose friends, and you will also lose some family. And if you were close with their family, then losing their family hurts too.
It does.
Like you have to, like for me, that's one of the things I had to process through all of this. And there will be people in your life that you didn't expect to abandon you that will. And you'll receive a ton of judgment, and often from the people that you least expect it from. But I do want to say, if you lose friends because you went through a divorce and you didn't do something atrocious, if you didn't abuse that person in some way, just know that those people were not your friends. As much as it sucks and it hurts, those are people that for some reason it was just time for them to be weeded out of your life. And I think allowing those people to go creates room for genuine people who have your best interests in mind and that will love you for exactly who you are. And if you're one of those friends that is having a hard time understanding why your friend is going through a divorce and they aren't opening up to you about it, there are a few things that you need to understand. For one, this is one of the most dark times that your friend is about to go through. And even if it was their choice to leave, there was a lot of things leading up to that which must have cost them a lot of pain. Please acknowledge the fact, people don't leave for no reason most of the time. The majority of the time when people leave is because there has been significant pain. If they aren't talking to you about what happened and explaining it, there could be a couple different reasons why. If you're a close friend of theirs, they a first friend of their partner as well, they probably don't want you to look at them different even though they hurt them. Does that make sense? Like I said earlier, I had the mindset for a long time of I don't want them to look at him any different just because he hurt me.
Right.
And then I had to get to the point of realizing that's protecting him, and that's not my job anymore. I don't have to protect him anymore.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with sharing the truth of what happened to me.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
So, but I think one of the other, the other thing is they could just be not ready to talk about their pain and possible trauma that they went through.
True.
Because they're still processing it themselves. And a lot of people, I definitely go through waves of this, where a lot of people just isolate when they're going through dark shit. And I don't know, people need to realize, if someone's isolating and they're not speaking to you or reaching out or responding, it honestly most likely has nothing to do with you. Don't take it personal. They're just going through it.
Right.
And if you are someone who is taking it personal, I truly feel that's really selfish of you, because you don't know what's going on with their friend, in their mind, in their heart. All you can really do at that point is just love your friend. Just love them and be there to support them and be a safe place where they feel like they can come and talk to you once they're ready. Because if they don't feel safe with you, they won't talk to you.
True. I do want to say this from the perspective, if you're wrong, if you're the one that fucked up.
Yeah.
If your friend comes to you and you seek their advice and they are brutally honest with you and tell you what you did wrong, you can't get mad at them.
Did you say you can't get mad at them?
You can't get mad at them.
Because you asked for their opinion.
You asked for their opinion.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking about the situation and you're in the wrong and they tell you that you're in the wrong, that's being a good friend. That's not fucking... I wouldn't want my friends to bullshit me.
Right.
Like, oh, well, that bitch had it coming. You know, I don't blame you for cheating on her. No. I would rather my friends be like, why the fuck did you do that? Like, what? Like, that's not like you. Like, it's pretty shitty. Like, why? Yeah. Like, I don't want them to, you know, pump me up for no fucking reason because they're my friends. No. I want you to point out, like, my fuck-ups.
Yeah.
Because you can't fix... I can't fix me without knowing that there's a problem. Like, I would rather my buddy be like, why did you do that? That doesn't make sense to me. That's either A, out of character for you, or like, what was wrong to make you do something like that?
Yeah.
So if your friend is a good enough friend to call you out on your bullshit, that's a good friend. And if you have problems with them because they're being a good friend, you've got some issues you need to work through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just my 2 cents.
No, I love that. That's a really good point.
So,
yeah, if you were the one that messed up, be the friend that is willing to be honest with your friend.
Right.
Like, you don't have to stop caring about them or loving them, but you can be honest with them when they're the ones that fucked up.
Right. I'm kind of going through a certain situation right now with a good buddy, work buddy, and we've talked about his fuck ups. He owns up to his fuck ups, and he's very brutally honest about it. And I'm telling him, in order for you to fix those future fuck ups so they don't happen, you've got to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But he's like anything that I'm telling him, he's not getting mad about.
Yeah.
And he's taking it and applying it to himself. I told him to go, like, you remember when I was telling you that I like gave him recommendations to like start hitting the gym harder, start getting a hobby, stuff like that. I also mentioned him taking like going on a nature hike or going on a mountain hike.
Mm-hmm.
He went on a mountain hike this weekend.
Good.
So,
love that.
I'm not going to get into that because that's kind of for our next episode. But
yeah,
honesty is key, especially when it comes to being a friend and giving them great advice. But being real is also the best key.
Yeah. Well, and it's like when I'm talking about friends that I'm saying all that for a very specific reason. I had people in my life who claimed to be, you know, we like love you so much, like we're here for you. Who had asked me a few times, like, what happened?
Right.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with asking what happened, but there's also nothing wrong with the person not being ready to share. But these girls, you know, they like we went to lunch together, and after I had left, and they were like, we just don't understand like what happened, and I was like, honestly, like a lot happened. I don't feel comfortable sharing right now. And they were like, okay, that's fine. Just know, like, we're here when you do, and we love you. Like, they in that moment, they were literally, like, exactly what I'm talking about being. Right. But a couple weeks went by, and I hadn't told them the details of what happened. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding why relationships end if there wasn't this one big moment, this one big atrocious moment. But, like, sometimes relationships end because they weren't meant to be. And it can be a combination of a lot of small things that add up to be bigger things. Or it could be things that are just so personal and traumatizing that the person just can't, it's just not ready to share about it. Like, I'm well over, like, we're going on almost 2 years, and I'm just now talking about some of this, like, kind of publicly for the first time ever. And this was stuff that had happened years and years and years ago.
Right.
There is one more thing that I forgot that I had written down, because I kind of, like, my brain was very scattered. Because I was just, like I said, like, mind dumping voice text on my app. It's the one last thing that I feel like I need to get off my chest.
Okay.
Is it okay that I?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what this is for.
I know. I just feel like I should have talked about it sooner. I feel like we're kind of wrapping it up, and now it's. But I just feel like it's important. I feel like someone might have had this experience and is really confused about it, like I was.
Floor is yours.
There were several times. I'm not just talking once. Like, this happened multiple times where we would, like, be, at a friend's party or whatever, or even just at the house, and, like, I didn't drink a lot, and I'm very sensitive. Like, you know this about me. I'm very sensitive to, like, alcohol or even, like, prescription medicine, like pain medicine. If it's for a surgery, like, it will knock me the fuck out. Like, I'm very sensitive.
Uh-huh.
So it does not take much for me to get to the point where I'm, like, blackout.
Right.
There were times where I would be passed out from drinking,
mm-hmm.
and I would wake up to him literally inside of me, just going down to my unconscious body. And I would wake up to that, like, super groggy and, like, not with it, and, like, not able to, like, to stop it, because I know it's happening to me, but there's nothing I can do about it. And that is not okay. Mm. I don't care if it's your spouse. That is not okay.
That's hard to hear. Like, I remember you telling me about this a while ago. I'm trying to choose the right words to say about that. That's still rape. Even if that is your wife, that is still not right. That's fucking disgusting. They're not your property. They're not your fucking plaything. They are your other half. They should be somebody that you love and cherish. They're not a fucking object for you. And to him, he's a fucking piece of shit. I'm sorry that happened to you. You don't deserve that. There is a level, like, I know a lot of people talk about liberals and, yes, I consent, we can have sex, that joking aspect, but there is a certain point where it's not a joke. Like, if she tells you to stop, don't keep pushing it. Period. It's not okay. It's not funny. It's not cute. If she's passed out, there's no consent to be had there. Whether it be your girlfriend, your fucking fiance, or your wife, there's no consent to be had there. He belongs where I work. And if you don't know, I work in a fucking prison. And to me, he's a worthless piece of shit in that aspect. I've never really spoken my opinion about this guy, because I'm not here to shit talk, but you're a true piece of shit in my eyes, buddy. So if you're listening to this, fuck you. I hope karma bites you in the ass, and I hope you wake up one day with your friend inside you. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not sure if what I'm saying is going to touch anybody, but if you're a female in the same situation as her, or you've gone through it, that's rape, period. There's no consent involved in that. And tell somebody, do not hide it. Do not put it on the back burner. Don't shrug it off, because it will happen again to someone else.
Right.
So.
And I think that's what's like was so hard for me. Like I've touched on before, but I haven't talked about a lot on the podcast. I was like very heavily involved in church.
Mm-hmm.
And it had just been like preached so hard my whole life that, you know, a woman has a wifely obligation to please their man. And
right.
I felt a lot of shame about it, and I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody because they would say, well, it's your job anyway to like make sure he's pleased. Not that I think, you know, there's a lot of people that were in my life that were Christians that wouldn't have, I know now wouldn't have done that, but at the time I just felt so much shame and felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about it, and it was a me
right.
problem, and I just needed to accept that it was my job to make sure that he was taken care of, and that it was like I had like convinced myself at one point that like this is okay, this is normal, and it's not. Like it's not okay, and I break my own heart for the things that I allowed. Like
mm-hmm.
I stayed so long at like that didn't happen just once, and it just sucks.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. Like, if that's happening to you, there are going to be people who understand that will help you get out of that situation.
Yeah, 100%.
Reach out to somebody.
Like, just because you're married to somebody doesn't mean that makes that situation okay. Because if you take the marriage off of it, how does that look? A guy takes you home and has sex with you while you're passed out? Call it rape, right? So just because you throw the title of husband and wife on it, hate to tell you, doesn't change it. If you're if there's somehow a guy out there listening to this and you've done it, fuck you, you piece of shit. That's not okay, and I hope you get what's coming. But to anybody that's gone through a traumatic experience like that, know that it's not okay. Know that you should reach out to somebody. Do not put this on the back burner because it's hurting you in the end. Yeah. And to anyone out there, like, we've got information. If somehow you're hearing this and you need to reach out to somebody, feel free. But I don't mind talking to somebody about this or trying to help you get help. Yeah. Because nobody should go through this, man or woman, period.
Yeah, email us and we will do everything we can to help you.
Absolutely. You okay?
Yeah. Sorry, it's just...
I know it's hard. It's a very hard thing to go through and talk about, but you're very strong for getting it out there.
Thank you.
And if there's any of his friends that are listening that want to talk shit or relay the message, go ahead and tell him I said fuck you, and you can meet me anywhere, anytime. So
I love you.
Love you too. But yeah, and if you're his friends, or if you're friends with somebody like this and you allow it to go on and you know about it, you don't question them about it, you're just as guilty as they are.
Yeah. And
if you're okay with it and you take sides, be like, well, she deserved it. Fuck you. You're just a big piece of shit that if there's a hell, hope you're right there. I pray that you get what's coming to you. For the ones that are friends with them or okay with it. You can eat the biggest piece of shit in the world and die of thirst. So, I don't know if I want to end on that note, but
no, I just want to encourage the people out there that are in a very toxic or abusive relationship. Like,
right.
Just know that you can get out.
And things do get better.
Things do get better. It gets better. It gets so much better.
Yes, things will get better. A great quote from the movie The Crow, it can't rain forever.
Can't rain all the time.
Yeah, there you go. It can't rain all the time. I'm getting old. It can't rain all the time. And it's true. It's not always going to be stormy days. And life is like a roller coaster, but guess what? It's not always lows. It goes up.
Takes all kinds of twists and turns and unexpected adventures.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to our podcast. We appreciate you being here. We hope that it has left you encouraged or maybe helped shed some light on a current situation. As always, feel free to reach out to us at perseverancetoprevail@gmail.com if you have any questions or suggestions or just want to chat.
Absolutely. And as always, be good, be safe, be the best version of you.